どうぞ、お姫様。
Classroom.
よし、これで前に出した課題は全部解けたな。みんな、ちゃんとついてきてるか？
The back door of the classroom is ajar. You lean against the door frame, watching Luke speak as he gathers the lesson plans on the podium and stacks them up. With the commencement of this year's International Biology Olympiad, the competition class at Salus Junior High School has also entered its preparation phase. To better prepare for it, the students in the competition class have taken to coming to school to self-study even after their intense training. Not long ago, your high school classmate Charlie Roberts called, hoping that Luke could temporarily take over as the competition coach over the weekend. The last time you met him was when you all returned to the school to find the time capsule. If it hadn't been for him lending you his staff card, you wouldn't have been able to smoothly uncover the long-forgotten memories. Therefore, Luke agreed to Charlie's request without much hesitation. Luke certainly looks the part of a teacher. Eager to stroll around the school with Luke again, you decided to come and wait for him without telling him in advance. Meeting your gaze, Luke's movement pauses ever so slightly. He presses his lips together, places the lesson plans in a corner of the podium, and briefly scans the classroom.
よし、一旦休憩にしよう。続きは20分後だ。
The students relax and start to leave the classroom in small groups. A boy with a notebook stops Luke.
水瀬先生。さっきのところで別の解き方を思いついたのですが。
The notebook is already raised in front of him. Luke slightly presses it down, peering over the paper to look at you. You wink at him and signal toward the hallway before leaving the classroom. Corridor. It isn't long before Luke walks out of the classroom. That was fast.
ああ、そんなに難しい問題じゃなかったし、飲み込みの早い子だったから、すぐに分かってくれたよ。
Looks like someone's enjoying themselves. Isn't that fun being a teacher?
そうでもないって。市の教員向けセミナーに行ってるマサトからの依頼でもなきゃ引き受けてなかったよ。それに先生役なら前に十分楽しんだし。
What?
この前個人授業をしてやっただろ。授業中だってのに散々いたずらしてきて。
That's something that happened when you and Luke first got together. You then recall the memory of Luke's figure standing in front of the desk. I was worried you might get nervous at the time. Anyway, speaking of which, Mr. Pierce's smooth teaching this time also owes a lot of my efforts back then. As you turn the tables on him, Luke responds with a supportive nod.
ああ、お前のおかげだ。
Not far away, several students stop in their tracks, casting curious glances at you two. Sensing something, Luke leans on the windowsill and keeps a distance from you.
そういえば、どうして急に来たんだ？
I wanted to wait for your class to end before we take a walk together.
あ、いいぞ。
水瀬先生。
It's the same boy from earlier. He somehow pops up from somewhere behind Luke, peeking his head out and carefully sizing you up.
後ろにいる人って新しい先生ですか？
いや、俺の婚約者だよ。
へえ。未来の旦那がちゃんと仕事してるか見に来たってことですね。
Mr. Pierce's wife. You freeze for a moment, not having time to react to the title before realizing that amid your conversation, the students who had been standing a short distance away have now gathered around.
水瀬先生はうちの卒業生だって聞きましたけど、もしかして奥さんもなんですか？
Same here, I was in the same class as him. Maybe because Luke has been approachable and friendly while teaching and the students can rarely gossip about their teachers, they all start chattering excitedly. From reminiscing about Yodis as classmates and Luke's remarkable performance in training sessions to his experiences studying in the capital. One question after another pours out, leaving Luke no choice but to raise his hand to signal for them to stop.
はいはい、質問はここまでだ。まったく。この調子で残りの授業も頑張れよ。
今はまだ休憩時間です。先生、話をそらさないでください。
そうですよ先生。もっとプラハでの話を聞かせてください。
Prague? You glance at Luke, unable to stop yourself from asking when the memory-laden location is mentioned.
それは。
A flash of panic crosses Luke's face, but the girls seem completely absorbed in their fantasies about the Prague trip and don't notice his expression.
はい。今回の大会はプラハで開催されるので、おすすめの観光スポットを先生に聞きたいんです。
それなら俺に聞かなくても、木山先生がちゃんと計画してくれるだろう。あいつもプラハ経験者だからな。
Luke waves his hand, ending the topic.
ほら、そろそろ時間だぞ。次の授業では手加減してやらないから、教室に戻って準備しとくんだな。
Amidst the chorus of groans, the students head back to the classroom. Luke massages his temple in relief. Seeing how uncomfortable Luke was when Prague was mentioned earlier, you cross your arms and stare at him. Luke looks away, glancing at the ceiling. He's definitely hiding something from me. You clear your throat, pretending to be serious. Dear defendant, your attorney advises that you confess what happened in Prague.
おい、その手を使うのはずるくないか？
Luke reluctantly raises his hands in surrender, giving in.
わかったよ。白状する。前にプラハ旅行に行こうって約束しただろ？で、ここ最近ずっとその計画を立ててたんだ。お前に黙ってたのは単にサプライズしたかったからだよ。
Eh? Though you had guessed that Luke's secret had to do with the agreement you made years ago, you didn't expect him to have everything arranged already.
どうだ？次の休みに一緒に行かないか？
You've already planned everything, so of course I will refuse. Let's go to Prague together.
ああ、いい思い出ができるって約束するよ。
Luke looks at the time and points toward the classroom.
じゃ、授業に行ってくるから、また後でな。
Got it. The day of the trip quickly arrives, and Luke hasn't told you a thing about his plans. Instead, he's made you look forward to this trip like a soon-to-be-opened mystery box. When you arrive in Prague, it's already 10 p.m. Hotel front desk. The sound of your suitcase scraping against the cobblestone floor breaks the silence as Luke carries it up the stairs and walks through the half-open door.
着いたな。ここは俺が大会に出た時に泊まったホテルで、今回あえて予約したんだ。
So, you wanted to revisit it?
ああ、多分な。
The sight of a British-style pub catches your eye. You stop in your tracks, take a step back, and take a closer look at the sign.
ちゃんと合ってるぞ。フロントがバーっぽくなってるのがここの特徴なんだ。
Luke pauses for a moment, scratching his head as a troubled look appears on his face.
正直自分でもよくわからないけど、計画を立ててた時、泊まるならここしかないって思ったんだよな。見たまんまの内装だから印象に残ってたんだろうけど。
By the end, Luke is almost mumbling to himself. You gently bump his arm and continue the conversation. It is quite unique. No wonder you've remembered it for so long.
前回ホテルに入った時、先生もお前と同じように慌てて看板を確認してたよ。で、フロントのスタッフに何度も確認した後、俺たちにこう言ったんだ。浮かれるのはわかるが、未成年が酒なんか飲むなよってな。そういえば、ここのオーナーはすごく親切なおじいさんで、彼のコレクションのアンティーク時計がフロントにあったはずだけど。
While talking, the two of you enter the lobby. However, only a young woman is on night duty. After asking her, you learn that the old man has gone home to rest. And there's no sign of the antique clocks at the front desk. Apart from that, all the other decorations show clear signs of wear and age.
あの頃とは随分変わったな。
Luke shakes his head, no longer dwelling on it. He quickly finishes checking in, grabs a suitcase with one hand and takes your hand with the other as you head upstairs. At the top of the stairs, he turns around and glances around the lobby once more.
何か忘れてるような。
Huh?
いや、なんでもない。行こう。
Hotel room. You do not dream that night. When you wake up to the morning light, Luke is not beside you. Where's Luke? You sit up just as you hear the door open. Luke walks directly from the hallway to the coat rack. He takes a towel, wipes the sweat-soaked ends of his hair, and looks at you.
起きたのか？なら、支度が済み次第、一緒に朝飯を食いに行くか？
Where did you go? You're all sweaty.
俺が早起きなのはお前も知ってるだろ？まだ外が暗かったから、日が昇るまで庭でトレーニングしてたんだ。
Luke stops what he's doing and gives you a mischievous wink.
で、その最中に何を見つけたと思う？
Could it be a little fairy?
え？
Sensing this might not be an ordinary matter, you mischievously decide to give him an incredulous answer. Sure enough, Luke is taken aback. Seeing his silence, you gestures with your hands again. It's about this size. It pops out of the grass and grants you wishes.
もしそんなのに出会ってたら、お前の願いを叶えてもらうために連れ帰ってるよ。不正解だ。
Luke gives a serious negative answer, and you can't help but laugh, covering your mouth with the blanket.
やっぱからかってたんだな。
Alright, tell me what you actually found. Luke's question reminds you of a scene from years ago when you reunited with an old friend. Could it be that the kind old grandpa you mentioned last night?
そりゃ俺だって会いたいけど、そんな都合のいいことは起きないよ。それに、俺はあくまで宿泊客の一人だ。会ったとしても覚えてないと思うぞ。
You think for a moment but can't find a suitable answer, so you decide to ask him directly. So, what did you discover? You think for a while but can't come up with anything Luke could have found in the garden, so you just shake your head. I can't curse. It seems like you've met his expectations, and Luke hums triumphantly.
わからないなら仕方ないな。答えを教えてやるよ。実は、青春時代の名残を見つけたんだ。
Eh? He doesn't continue but hangs the towel around his neck, then rummages through his suitcase for a change of clothes and turns towards the bathroom.
それが何なのかは、朝食の時にでも見てみようぜ。俺はシャワーを浴びてくるから、先に支度を済ませときな。
After you're both ready, you go to the small garden where the trees are thick with foliage, giving off a kind of chaotic vitality. Luke takes your hand and leads you along the path to the farthest point, where you arrive at a weathered, faded red brick wall. This is...
昨日の夜、なんか忘れてるような気がしたんだけど、今朝のトレーニング中にそれを思い出してさ。高校生の時、ここにあるものを隠したんだ。
What? With your curious gaze on him, Luke crouches down, removes a loose brick from the wall, and pulls out a small iron box. The dust covering the box floats up with his movements. He waves it away, wipes the box clean, and hands it to you.
開けてみ。
Inside the box is only a folded piece of paper, also covered with a thin layer of dust. You unfold the paper, like clouds parting to reveal the sky. Luke's intentions from his younger days, hidden in the wall for years, are now revealed to you.
親愛なるワトソンへ。これを読んでいるってことは、俺はもう、プラハに謎を仕掛け終わってる頃だろうな。
Luke leans in, seemingly very pleased with his creation, and reads it out aloud before you can.
謎を解いて、隠された答えを見つけるんだ。そうすればお前は、プラハで一番綺麗な景色を見られるぞ。
The paper only has these two sentences, and the rest is Luke's puzzle. You flip the paper over to make sure there is nothing on the back. The most beautiful view? What could that be? Before Luke can speak, you quickly wave your hand. Never mind. Don't tell me. Let me find the answer on my own.
ま、聞かれたところで覚えてないから答えられないんだけどな。
No way!
ああ、変だよな。いつもなら、この類のことはちゃんと覚えてるのに。
It doesn't matter. We'll know once we solve the puzzle. The moment the words leave your mouth, you realize there's still an issue with this puzzle. But you created the puzzle, so doesn't that mean only I can solve it?
そんなことないぞ。暗号の作成は、マサトにも手伝ってもらってるから、ある程度は一緒に解いても問題はないはずだ。
Did Charlie participate in the competition too? Luke takes the paper from your hand, gently smoothing the yellowed edges and smiling softly.
ああ、今思い出しても笑えるよ。最初は一人で謎を仕掛けるつもりだったけど、その途中でマサトにバレちまってな。何か手伝いたいって言われたから、大まかな部分を俺が作って、細かいところをあいつに任せたんだ。
How did you even come up with this idea? You tug at Luke's sleeve and he leans closer in response to your pull. The lingering scent of shampoo from his hair still wafts into your nose. He pauses, a flicker of hesitation in his eyes. After a moment of thought, he shakes his head.
実は、それもよく覚えてないんだよな。多分だけど、お前がプラハに来た時、より楽しめるようにしたかったんだと思う。なんせ、出発の前に約束したからな。ちゃんと下見をしてくるって。
Well, you've already done it. You've completed Pique My Curiosity. It feels just like a detective game.
みたいでというか、そのものと一緒になって解いてるんだけどな。
Luke waves the paper in his hand.
けど、今日の探偵はお前で、俺はその助手だ。
Okay. You find a clean step in the garden and sit down. You focus on the puzzle in front of you, which has 4 lines. We dive into the task, forgetting the difference between day and night. 28, 18, 3, 24, 22, 3, 15, 26. 2p, 3, 3, 26, 25.
私たちは夕闇を突き進んでいく。昼も夜も今となっては遠い記憶だ。カフカの短編小説にある一節をオマージュしたものか。
Isn't that short story Children on a Country Road? Prague is Kafka's hometown, so it makes sense to include that element. The next 3 lines must be the code. Could they represent the sequence of the 26 letters? You quickly spot the letter P in the 3rd line and shake your head to yourself. No, if it were that simple, there would be no need to include the P.
多分暗号を解くキーみたいなのがあって、最初の文字がそれのヒントになってるんじゃないか？
Ah, could the plain text be Children on a Country Road? Perhaps they refer to page numbers or lines. But the editions of the publication are different, so the corresponding information would change. Luke, do you remember which version you chose back then?
それもよく覚えてないけど、英語版を参考にした可能性が高いかもな。暗号の形式的に平文を26のアルファベットに限定できた方が楽なはずだ。
Even if we know it's the English version, there are still many versions to choose from, so we can't be sure immediately. You feel Luke's hand gently pressed between your brows, and only then do you realize you've been frowning. You grip his hand back, smiling a little sheepishly. I got too caught up in it. Did you really design this during your competition?
そうだよ。正確に言うと、俺は暗号の基礎を教えただけで、お前が見てる部分はほとんどあいつが調整したもんだけどな。何か気になるとこでもあったか？
I just suddenly remembered you said before the competition that you could win the prize. You weren't exaggerating at all. Though you've long known how impressive Luke is, just thinking about how he managed to both compete and design a whole puzzle at the same time still leaves you in awe.
俺がすごいのは今に始まったことじゃないだろ。もっと褒めてくれたっていいんだぞ。
I was clearly praising the Luke from high school. You reach out and touch Luke's head, feeling the soft hair under your palm tickling you slightly. I really liked your intentions back then.
今の俺なら、もっとお前を喜ばせられるぞ。
Is that so? Luke lowers his head slightly and his eyes reveal a strong come on praise me look. You hold back your laughter and hold the puzzle up to his face. Then solve the puzzle first and let me see your skills.
このくらい朝飯前だ。
Luke smiles knowingly and points to the letter P.
暗号を解く鍵はお前が見つけた通りだけど、平文自体はそこまで複雑じゃないと思うぞ。短編小説だとしても、すべてのアルファベットが使用されるほどの字数はあるはずだ。それなのに、わざわざ暗号に P を入れたってことは、平文の字数が少ないあまり、数字に置き換えなかったんじゃないか？
In that case, there are many Kafka-related landmarks in Prague, and the most famous ones should be his birthplace at 5 Radney Street and his former residence at 22 Golden Lane. You exchange a glance with Luke, and he clearly has the same thought.
どうやら考えは一緒みたいだな。それじゃ、行くか。
Yes. Since it's closer, you choose to head to Radney Street first. It's near Old Town Plaza, surrounded by a constant flow of tourists, and you quickly find Kafka's birthplace. The original site was destroyed in the war, and aside from the columns at the entrance, the newly reconstructed building shows no traces of the past. You walk around the building and soon find a simple introduction about Kafka on the side wall. Franz Kafka was born here on July 3rd, 1883. Look, is this it? You stop and point at the plaque on the wall.
よし、試してみるか。
You follow the order of numbers corresponding to this introduction, but what you get is the phrase Jiao Ao Bao. What does this mean? Did we get to the wrong place? Did we go to the wrong place? You look around and there doesn't seem to be any other text that could serve as the plain text. You're about to grab Luke's and look around again, but he stands still, staring at the meaningless string of characters you just wrote on the paper.
また。これ、正しいかもしれないぞ。
Huh? Really?
ああ。暗号には、漢字式暗号や天地式暗号みたいな、比較的簡単な方式があるんだ。これをもっと細分化したものはたくさんあるけど、一つ共通しているのは、コードブックを必要としないって点だな。
So, does that mean there's no plain text?
ある意味そうだ。ただ、より正確に言うと、平文を大幅に変えることなく文字を置き換えるだけの簡単な方式だ。
How do we confirm the original order of the plain text?
任せな。これこそ、俺の専門分野だ。
You're truly a great detective. Luke thinks for a moment and then smiles as he looks at you.
わかったぞ。これはシーザー暗号だ。
Before you can ask, Luke takes the lead in explaining.
シーザー暗号ってのは簡単な暗号化方式の一種で、平文のアルファベットを決まった字数分、時点順に前後させて暗号化するんだ。
Luke glances at the plaque on the wall, then points to several repeating letters on the paper.
で、鍵空間が全部で25通りある中で、平文には P に置換できず、重複もしないアルファベットが16あり、9通りまで絞ることができる。そこから重複したアルファベットの出現頻度を分析すれば、ずれているのが7文字であることもわかる。
So, the corresponding letters should be... You jot down some notes on the paper, then use the offset of 7 to decrypt the clues a second time, ultimately arriving at...
キャッチ・ザ・キトゥン？言葉になってるところを見るに、これが答えなんだろうけど、子猫を捕まえろってなんだ？
Are there any kitten-related landmarks or stories in Prague?
そんな場所行った覚えはないけどな。
Luke pulls you to sit on a bench by the roadside.
少し休憩してから考えるか。
We can check if there are any kitten-related stories in Prague. You take out your phone and try to search for related information online. Soon you find a game with the same name that was uploaded years ago. Could this be something Luke made? You download the game and hand your phone to Luke. Look at this. Luke is taken aback for a moment, then swipes a few times on the screen. Seemingly guessing what you're thinking, he shakes his head.
似てるけど別物じゃないか？ところどころ作った覚えがないし、それにこれ200以上もステージがあるだろ？ こんな労力のかかる謎を用意したりはしないと思うんだよな。
It's also possible that Charlie hid some clues here. Luke shifts his gaze, looking toward a shop not far away.
アイス食べるか？トゥルデルに行くアイスはここの名物らしいぞ。下調べの時も何人もおすすめしてるのを見たから間違いないはずだ。
I want some.
じゃあ買ってくるから、お前はここでゲームでもして待ってな。
Alright, maybe I'll have solved the puzzle by the time you come back.
それは楽しみだな。
Luke's figure gradually fades from view as you lower your head and open the first level. It's a game similar to Push the Box, where you have to move boxes to free the trapped kitten. There's hardly any difficulty. You move from one level to the next, but by the end, you still haven't found any clues. I don't have to clear the game to find the clue, do I? You shake your head and continue playing, passing over 20 levels. Ah! A spoon is handed to you, and the cool touch of the ice cream brushes your lips. You look up and see that Luke has returned to sit beside you with the ice cream.
どうだ？何か手がかりはあったか？
Not at all.
もう少し続けてみるか？
You think for a moment, then helplessly nod. Although I know the clues are unlikely to be here, I won't feel settled until I'm sure they aren't. I don't want to give up, because what if it's really there? Luke thinks for 2 seconds, then takes the phone from your hand and hands you the ice cream.
最後のステージまでクリアすればいいんだよな。
You hesitate for a moment and shake your head. Forget it. The clue probably isn't here. Let's not waste time in the game. Luke lowers his eyes, glances at the level count on the screen, and takes the phone from your hand.
なら、こっちは俺に任せて。お前はアイスを食べてな。
Do you want to continue?
なあ、次を探すにしても、手がかりがあるかどうかくらいははっきりさせたいだろ。
But Luke doesn't continue with the game. Instead, he takes a tablet from his bag and connects it to your phone. What are you going to use that for?
これくらいのミニゲームだったら、ちょっとした裏技でエンディングまで飛べるんだよ。
He gently taps your arm.
ぼーっとしてないで食べたらどうだ？そのままだと溶けちまうぞ。
After you finish your ice cream, Luke has already written the script, and the hint, as you guessed, isn't in the game. I suspected it's not here.
何か見落としてたのかもな。もう一回。
Before Luke can finish his sentence, a cat's meow echoes from nearby. You exchange a glance, immediately perking up as you start searching for the source. Under the street light, the cat stretches lazily. It first slips into a nearby shop it is seemingly well acquainted with to snag a snack before gracefully darting across the street. It ran off? Look, do you think this cat could be the clue? It seems really familiar with this area. Should we follow it?
あ、他に手がかりもないし、散策がてら追ってみるか。
Watching the cat disappear around a corner, you pat Luke on the shoulder and pull him up. Let's get moving, or we might lose it. You pull your coat tighter, feeling like a detective on the brink of action. Seeing how enthusiastic you are, Luke pretends to act serious and raises 3 fingers in front of you with a playful gesture.
探偵の掟第3条。優秀な探偵は 追跡も完璧に行うべし。さあ、今こそ俺たちの実力を発揮する時だ。
What are the first two rules?
実にいい質問だ、マイワトソン。だが、1条と2条はまだ決まってない。
Although you try to play along, you can't hold back your laughter. Luke shoots you a resigned look, and to keep the moment from fizzling out, you grab his camera from his bag, changing the topic. If we're tracking, we'll need to capture some clues. Lucky for us, my detective here is always prepared.
これくらい当然だろう。子猫を一匹追跡するくらい、俺たちならどうってことないって。
You cross the street and the roads around here are all interconnected. The cat clearly seems very familiar with this area. Finally, after turning the third corner and reaching the Old Town Plaza, the cat stops. It casually stands by the wall, is still gently swaying. Under the grey wall draped with green vine, you crouch down holding your camera while Luke crosses his arms. The cat is hidden by the shadow of wall and drowned out by the bustling crowd, but nothing prevents you from being fully immersed. In this bustling city's most inconspicuous corner, you play the only protagonist in this game that spans years. Why did it stop here? Looking in the direction of the cat, you spot the Prague astronomical clock up ahead. Luke leans forward slightly, his arm brushing against the back of your head. You tilt your head slightly upward and hear him softly mutter.
ちょっとのめり込みすぎたかもな。道中気にせずコソコソしてたから、いろんな意味で人目を引いてるぞ。
As long as we don't draw the cat's attention, it should be fine. After all, cats are easily scared off, so we need to be careful.
あの猫が驚くとこなんて想像できないけどな。まさに怖いもの知らずって感じだぞ。
Despite the slight helplessness in his tone, you can feel Luke's gaze fixed on the cat.
それにしても、こうやって街中を走り回るってのも結構危ないな。
Thankfully, this area is filled with only pedestrian streets, so at least we don't have to worry about encountering traffic. As you talk, the cat has already settled down by the wall. When a passerby reaches out to pat its head, the cat doesn't flinch but instead tilts its head and nuzzles into the person's palm. You take the chance to press the shutter. Perhaps having heard the sound of the shutter going off, the cat turns half its head and meets your gaze. You instinctively try to step back but end up pressing it up against Luke's body. Startled, he looks down at you in surprise.
大丈夫か？
Oh no, look, we've been spotted by the target. It's not going to run off, right?
落ち着けって。こういう場合はとりあえず動かず様子を見るんだ。
The cat flicks its tail, staring at you. You freeze in place, not daring to move even as your arm holding the camera begins to ache.
一般的に尾行に気づいたターゲットは人混みに紛れて追跡を巻こうとする。ただ、人混みは同時に盾にもなって敵意のある相手からの攻撃をしにくくさせる。だから、今は慎重にターゲットを観察し、不自然な動きを見せたら確保すればいい。
You imagine the chaos that would ensure if the cat suddenly attacked you, pouncing towards you. You can't help but laugh.
俺に任せろ。一瞬で場を収めて。
However, the cat doesn't give Luke a chance to show off. It yawns and meows once, then loses interest and turns its head away from you. The situation you expected doesn't happen at all. Luke's sentence gets cut off halfway, and after 2 seconds of silence, he can't help but grunt. At this point, a crowd has already gathered near the astronomical clock. You glance at the hands, which are almost pointing to 12 o'clock. Look, it's almost on the hour. This cat can't just be waiting for the bell to ring, right?
そうだな。もうそんな時間なのか？
Luke's panicked voice reaches you. Before you can ask further, the bell chimes. The next moment, a pair of hands cover your ears, blocking out the noise of the crowd and the long chimes. You look up in surprise as his hands rub gently over your ears. He lowers his head, meeting your gaze. You freeze for a moment, just staring at him until the bell stops ringing. The crowd gradually disperses. Luke pulls you to your feet. The cat isn't in a hurry to leave, instead is lazily lying on its back on the street. You turn to face Luke, waving your hand in front of him. Luke, why did you do that?
いや、その、
He hesitates for a few seconds, then sighs heavily.
こんな形で約束を果たすつもりじゃなかったから。
You freeze for a moment, remembering the phone call where you both agreed to listen to the bells of Prague together. You look at Luke. Under the sunlight, his eyes are shining, and his arm is hanging low, palm resting gently on your wrist.
こんなあっさりした形でなんて、納得できないよな。
Honestly, completing the promise easily is fine. We didn't make the promise seriously back then, after all. After all, we didn't know we'd be separated for 8 years. So whether it's Prague or the astronomical clock, all the promises we made then were made lightly. You clasped Luke's hand, feeling his thumb rub gently over your knuckle. So, taking it easy makes me feel like our promise wasn't delayed for too long. Luke lowers his gaze, looking somewhat conflicted. But you speak first, pausing for dramatic effect. Luke watches you curiously, and you hold back a laugh while shaking his arm. Wait, I didn't hear the bell just now, so our promise isn't over yet. Let's follow your plan.
お前、あ、最初からそのつもりだったのか。俺はてっきり。
You think for a moment and nod lightly. You're right, even though we didn't make the promise with total seriousness back then, it's been so long. A bit more formality wouldn't hurt. It's like honoring our past selves.
あ、俺もそう思う。だから。
As if accidentally letting something slip, Luke suddenly pauses. He doesn't continue speaking, but instead leans in and gently taps your elbow, changing the topic.
というか、俺は軽い気持ちで言ったんじゃないからな。あの時だってすごい緊張したし、手汗だって。
Huh, you knew I'd say yes. As if recalling his past self, Luke smiles and ruffles your hair.
それでも、好きな相手との約束だぞ。どんなに仲良くたって緊張はするだろう。
His hidden thoughts from his school days come to light so naturally, stirring up the excitement you once felt when you heard his invitation back then. You move your lips, about to say me too, but before you can, Luke points at the spot where the cat had been lying.
猫がどっか行きそうだ。追うぞ。
He casually takes your hand and pulls you into the crowd. Through the gaps in the sea of people, you spot the cat still flicking by. Fortunately, Luke keeps a good distance from the cat. You feel relief and followed him. Finally, after passing through the narrow street next to Old Town Plaza, you arrive at the Havel Market. Havel Market.
どうしてここで止まったんだ？
The cat lounges in a box by the door just outside a souvenir shop, looking content to stay put. Could this shop be a clue? Nothing looks especially unusual though.
休憩してるだけかもな。この辺の店を眺めながら少し待ってみるか。あ、これ見てみ。
Luke points to the glass window, inside which are Prague astronomical clock-themed refrigerator magnets. It's adorable, and the details are spot on. Luke's fingertips rest on the glass, moving from the clock's dial up to the top, where he lets out a soft sigh.
だな。でも、再現したのは天文時計の部分だけか。
What's the matter?
いや、だから悪いってわけじゃないけど、俺が好きなのは上にある小さい時計の方なんだ。
When you passed by the astronomical clock earlier, you were too focused on the cat to notice the top of the tower Luke mentioned. Seeing your confusion, Luke smiles and moves his finger upward, making a small circle.
あの時計はちょっと変わってて、長針と短針の役割が逆になってるんだ。初めて見た時は戸惑ったし、あれが時間の逆流を意味してると知った時も驚いた。
That sounds romantic. If walking under that clock could take you back in time, when would you want to go back to?
俺は、
Luke's expression shifts slightly, and then he falls into thought. You stare at his profile, unable to guess what he's thinking.
ボス
Suddenly, a voice calls out from nearby, interrupting Luke's thoughts. He snaps out of his reverie and looks toward the source of the sound with you. Soon, Charlie squeezes out from the crowd.
マサト、どうしてここにいるんだ？
大会の引率でこっちに来たんだよ。
Such a coincidence! Speaking of the competition, Charlie lets out a heavy sigh, looking helpless.
あいつら手に負えないくらいはしゃいでて、もうヘトヘトだよ。ボス、俺たちの頃はもっと落ち着いてたよね。
そうか？お前だってあちこち見学してて集合時間に遅れてただろ？まだ覚えてるぞ。
この話は今すぐ終わりにしよう。
Charlie makes a cut-it-off gesture, quickly halting Luke's words.
そういえば、やっと二人でプラハ旅行に来れたんだね。
Finally,
はい。ボスは過去、何度もあなたと一緒に来たいって言ってましたから。
ああ、今はまさにあの時の謎を解いてる最中だ。
Luke speaks while pointing to the cat in the box. During your conversation, the cat has already fallen asleep. Watching the cat's relaxed demeanor, Luke spread his hands.
こいつがここで寝てるせいで行き詰まってるけどな。
謎？
Charlie frowns, staring at the cat for a while before a look of realization crosses his face.
思い出した！あのことか！ボス、当時もめっちゃ悩んでたからね。
Once the conversation starts, you follow Charlie's long-winded narrative, piecing together the entire story. The chirping of birds reveals a corner of the garden scenery, with Luke crouching by the wall, seemingly tinkering with something. Luke is so engrossed in what he's doing that he doesn't notice Charlie's approach as he walks across the grass.
ボス、何してるんだい？
見てわからないのか？ちゃんと隠せるように。って、マサト、なんでここにいるんだ？
結構前からいたんだけど、随分と集中してたみたいだね。
Charlie also crouches down and peeks into a small hole in the wall, realizing that Luke is stuffing a small metal box into the gap.
そんなにコソコソして一体何を。
Luke glances at Charlie, hesitates for a moment, and only speaks after Charlie urges him.
昨日、あいつと約束したんだ。いつか一緒にプラハに来て、天文台の鐘の音を聞こうって。それから、他にも見せたいものが。
見せたいもの？
教えるわけないだろ。これはトップシークレットなんだから。とにかく、今は謎を仕掛けてるとこだ。謎を解きながらプラハ観光を楽しんでもらうためにな。
そんな面倒なことをしなくても一緒に観光すればいいんじゃないのかい？
Before Luke can answer, Charlie suddenly slaps his thigh, looking as though he understands.
わかった。彼女が解けなくて困ってる時にヒーローのように颯爽と助けに入ろうとか思ってるんでしょう。
Luke finally stops what he's doing and looks at Charlie in confusion.
まったく、よくそんなことを思いつくな。
恋愛小説に載ってるからね。あ、別に俺の趣味ってわけじゃなくて、チームの人が持ってたやつで。
へえ、たまたま読んだだけにしては詳しいんだな。
大切なのはそこじゃないって。俺が言いたいのは、ボスの考えてることなんてお見通しだってことだよ。
はあ、そうなのか？
Charlie doesn't answer but instead pats his chest and directly pulls the metal box out of the hole in the wall, not giving Luke a chance to refute.
自分で全部の準備をしちゃったら、謎解きに参加できなくなっちゃうでしょ？彼女が解いてるところを眺めているだけでいいの？ってことで、俺が手伝ってあげるよ。
After thinking for a moment, Luke nods toward Charlie. After the two of them finish revising the puzzle, Luke puts the paper back into the small iron box.
これでよし。でも、なんで有名な観光スポットじゃなくて他の場所を選んだんだい？
一緒に旅行に来るとしたら数日は滞在するだろ？他の観光スポットは後からでも回れるからな。大事なのは場所じゃなくて時間なんだ。
Luke mutters to himself, then smiles at Charlie.
今日はありがとな。お前のおかげで助かったよ。
別にいいよ。俺とボスの仲でしょ。ああ、お土産を買いに行く約束をしてたんだった。それじゃあまたね。
あ。
Watching Charlie walks away, Luke crouches down again. The wall has been restored to its original state, and at first glance, it's impossible to tell that any of the bricks had been moved. Luke reaches out and gently touches one of the bricks, his fingers collecting a little dust. A faint blush spreads across his cheek as he seemingly remembers something.
何がヒーローだよ。あいつのことだから答えに困ったところで何が何でも自分で答えを見つけようとするだろう。
Once Charlie finishes his recount, the three of you fall into a brief silence. You seem to see the slightly bashful and expectant expression on Luke's face at that moment, and only then do you realize that the short riddle on the paper carries such a complex and winding story of a young heart. You gently take Luke's hand, and he responds by playfully hooking his finger around yours. Charlie is the first to snap out of the memory, awkwardly scratching his head.
多分だけど、その猫も俺の用意した謎じゃないかな。
So, have we actually found the right clue?
それはわからないです。猫は猫でも大して重要ではないのかもしれませんし。さっきも話した通り、重要なのは場所じゃなくて時間なんです。
時間。
Luke lowers his gaze, his expression unreadable. Charlie doesn't notice the change in his demeanor and pats his shoulder.
そんなに焦らなくても、二人の実力なら絶対に解けるよ。大丈夫。それじゃあ、俺はもう行くね。あの暴れん坊たちをきちんと監督しないと。また時間があったら話そう。
あ、
Charlie waves goodbye and disappears back into the crowd. Havel Market. It's been half an hour since you arrived at the Havel Market, and the cat hasn't moved except for rolling over once. Dusk is approaching. The sunlight is gradually fading behind the clouds, casting a thin golden glow. Just as Luke and you are at loss, the souvenir shop owner steps outside.
こんにちは。何かお困りでしょうか？先ほどからずっとこちらにいらっしゃるようですが。
Ah, no. You briefly explain the situation to the shop owner, who listens thoughtfully and nods.
多分あなたたちが探しているのはラダではなく、その母親のマグダだと思いますよ。
Eh? As if hearing her name, Lara slowly wakes up in the cardboard box, squinting at you. The shop owner crouches down to stroke Lara's fur and continues explaining.
この子も母親も、市場の周辺を縄張りにしている野良猫なんです。ただ、マグダは数年前に亡くなっちゃって。
You pause, realizing that the span of this riddle stretches close to a cat's lifetime. Luke seems to catch onto your thoughts, giving your wrist a reassuring squeeze.
今でも覚えていますよ。マグダは散策が大好きで、よく市場から川沿いを進んで、旧市街地広場まで歩いていたんです。あと、天文台の鐘の音を聞くのも大好きでした。ラダが同じように鐘の音を聞きに行くのは、きっとあの子の影響なんでしょうね。
では、ラダも毎回同じルートを通るんですか？
いいえ、ラダはその日によって違う場所を通っています。お二人が今日この子に会えたのは、きっと何かの縁でしょうね。あ、そうだ、ちょっとお待ちください。
The shopkeeper stands up, quickly walks back into the shop, and soon returns with a map in hand. He spreads the map out in front of you, marking several locations with a red pen. Besides the one you've already visited, there are still Charles Bridge and Means Bridge.
これがマグダが通っていたルートです。お役に立てるといいのですが。
Thank you.
どういたしまして。もし用事が済んで時間が余っていたら、ぜひうちで買い物をしていってください。
Coffee shop. After bidding the shopkeeper farewell, you find a coffee shop and start studying the map. Looking at it this way, Magda's range of activities is quite large. This helps explain why Charlie chose a cat as a clue. But what's important is time. Should this sentence be understood?
ヒントが欲しいか？
You look up at Luke and meet his smiling gaze. Have you remembered something?
あ、一番綺麗な景色が何なのかをやっと思い出したんだ。
Just like when you used to protect the answers on your exam papers, you move the map closer to yourself. Then I don't need a hint. I've already come this far, so I'll figure it out on my own.
そう言うと思ったよ。
Luke folds his arms and leans back in his chair, pretending to be a hands-off shopkeeper.
それじゃ、謎解きの邪魔をしないよう、ゆっくり景色でも楽しむとするか。ほんと、今日はいい天気だな。
He tilts his head and looks out the window, seemingly sighing without meaning to, but there's a brief flash of fondness in his eyes. You pull your gaze away from his face and look back at the locations on the map. Centered around the Prague astronomical clock, directly north is Kafka's birthplace on Radnitz Street, and directly south is the Havel Market. Charles Bridge and Mans Bridge are located to the southwest and northwest respectively. Could the center of the puzzle still be the astronomical clock? No, that's not it. You're lost in the puzzle, but out of the corner of your eye, you notice Luke secretly watching you. When you catch him, he quickly looks away, turning his gaze to the window. Someone said he wouldn't disturb me, but can't seem to stay still at all.
やっぱ見てるだけってのもな。どうして天文時計が鍵じゃないと思ったのか聞かせてくれるか？
Because, based on your personality, you wouldn't set up a puzzle with overlapping elements.
なんだそれ。考案者の性格から謎を予測するなんてずるだろ？
Then, I guess I'll just have to ask the examiner to make an assumption. You lean in and lightly kiss Luke on the cheek. He freezes, instinctively raising a hand to rub at his nose.
わかったよ。ただし、今回だけだからな。
Luke leans against the chair back and moves closer, shifting the focus to the map again. You stare at the red circle, lost in thought. A sudden idea flashes through your mind. Grabbing a pen nearby, you connect the astronomical clock diagram with the other locations. You then draw a larger circle centering each on the astronomical clock. Look, doesn't this look like a clock face?
さすがだな。
Great, now we just need to figure out the time. The puzzle starts at Kafka's birthplace, so that should be the observation point. The Prague astronomical clock is the center of the clock. You rotate the map and simulate the possible scenario. The Havel Market is at the 12 o'clock position and is the closest to the astronomical clock, so it can be considered the hour hand. Charles Bridge should be at the 2 o'clock position and Mains Bridge is at 5 o'clock. However, after connecting the locations and the puzzle still isn't solved. Strange, it doesn't matter whether the final destination is Charles Bridge or Mains Bridge, they both seem to be around 12 o'clock. Did I miss something?
Yeah. だから悪いってわけじゃないけど、俺が好きなのは上にある小さい時計の方なんだ。あの時計はちょっと変わってて、長針と短針の役割が逆になってるんだ。初めて見た時は戸惑ったし、あれが時間の逆流を意味してると知った時も驚いた。
You recall something Luke mentioned in passing, wondering if he prefers the little clock at the top tower.
その顔、気づいたみたいだな。
You snap out of your thoughts, nodding before pointing toward Havel Market with the tip of your pen. Yeah, I think the direction of the Havel Market represents the minute hand. So, if the destination is Charles Bridge, the time would be 2 o'clock. If it's Mans Bridge, it should be 5 o'clock.
で、お前はどっちだと思う？
Is it Charles Bridge? Charles Bridge is a famous bridge in Prague and a popular sightseeing spot. It makes sense to choose it as a destination. But we've already missed 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You glance at Luke to gauge his reaction. He pressed his lips together as if hesitating to speak. Seems like I guessed wrong.
実を言うと、ヒントは一番最初に出てるんだ。
Huh, let me think again.
で、お前はどっちだと思う？
We dive into the dusk, forgetting the difference between day and night. You recall the initial clue again. It's Mansbridge, right? At 5 p.m., the time is just right for the twilight hour, and it matches the first hint.
正解だ。
Luke gets up, the chair makes a brief sound as it scrapes against the floor. He lowers his hands and gestures for you to follow.
ちょうどいい時間だな。ほら、一緒に行くぞ。
The Havel Market isn't far from Mansbridge, but because you're worried about missing the twilight, Luke pulls you along into a jog. Finally, when you step onto the bridge, the evening glow stretches across the sky. As day and night alternate, the glow dawns in the swiftly gathered clouds, and the road behind you is softly swallowed by the evening mist. You lean against the bridge railing, the setting sun brushing past your elongated shadows. Is this the most beautiful view in Prague?
ああ、
Luke replies quietly, lowering his head slightly. The evening glow reflects in his eyes, and he squints, showing a slight embarrassed expression.
実はあの時、何を一番綺麗な景色にするか、まだ決めてなかったんだ。本当はどこでもよかったし、この大掛かりな謎も、夕暮れまでの時間稼ぎになればよかった。俺はお前と一緒に、プラハの夕日を見たかっただけなんだ。
Oh, that's it?
そんなに驚くことか？
Not really. It's just that, thinking back to your high school days, I can't help but wonder if there was some special reason behind everything you did.
特別な理由か。
Luke tilts his head back, the priest lifting his hair to reveal his forehead. He absentmindedly runs his fingers through his hair.
確かに考えがあって謎を用意したけど、特別って言えるほどの理由はなかったかもな。俺が大会に行ってた頃のステラ市の天気ってまだ覚えてるか？
You pause, lost by Luke's sudden shift in topic, but he simply gazes at you quietly, patiently waiting for your answer. Sunny day. After all these years, you're unsure of the details. Hesitating slightly, you decide to give it a guess. Luke noticed the hesitation in your voice, but doesn't call you out on it. He simply nods along with your words.
確かにそうだったかもな。
Cloudy. After all these years, you're unsure of the details. Hesitating slightly, you decide to give it a guess. Luke noticed the hesitation in your voice but doesn't call you out on it. He simply nods along with your words.
確かにそうだったかもな。
After thinking for a while, you shake your head helplessly, memories blurred by the time. I don't remember. As if he already knows what your answer will be, you smile without concern.
あの頃、ステラ市では曇りが続いてた。けど、電話越しに鐘の音を聞いたあの日だけは晴れてたんだ。
How do you remember that so clearly? Luke leans closer, resting his arm on your shoulder. He ruffles your hair gently.
変だよな。あの時は大会の結果とか将来のこととか考えるべきことが他にもたくさんあったのに、真っ先にステラ市の天気を知りたいって思ったんだ。
Why's that? Luke tightens his arm around you slightly, and you lean into his shoulder in response. You feel like two birds perched on a cloud, leaning on each other as you gaze on, watching everything from the sunset to the first twinkle of the evening star.
ある物語によると、人は悲しい時に 44回夕日を見たくなるらしい。けど俺が思うに、恋をした時にこそ、人は44回夕日を見たくなるんだと思う。だから、時差があっても、ステラ氏の夕暮れ時にお前に電話をして、夕日に背中を押してもらって、あの頃どうしても口にできなかった好きを伝えようと思ったんだ。
The glow hues of the sunset veil Luke's profile in a soft, indistinct light. Time ripples like water, merging the past with the present, the youthful face you remember overlaps with the Luke standing before you now. Perhaps he wore that seemed slightly forlorn expression back then too.
だけど、あの時の俺は育児がなくて、曇りがちだったステラ氏の貴重な晴れの日を無駄にしちまった。
Luke quickly returns to his usual expression. He takes your hand and gently traces a counterclockwise circle in your palm.
過去に戻れるとしたらいつに戻りたいって聞いたよな。俺はその日に戻って、言えなかった言葉を伝えたい。
Meeting Luke's gaze, it feels like his eyes pull an entire twilight sky just for you. By a twist of fate, the secret buried for 10 years has become like a pebble by the shore, polished bright and smooth by the gentle, persistent flow of the river. It's okay even if you can't go back to that day. Because we've already watched countless sunsets together in Salis, from childhood to now.
それもそうだな。
Luke smiles and leans down to kiss the corner of your brow.
ただ、誰かを愛すると、どんな些細なことも、その人と共有したくなる。それが1回だろうと1万回だろうと、俺にとっては同じように大事なんだ。
From now on, let's never miss a single sunset. You rise onto your toes, leaning toward his lips, not caring whether your words might fade into the wind. You just want to stay in his embrace like this until the twilight completely fades and until the night falls. By the way, there's still something important we haven't done. You gently pat Luke on the back. Let's go hear the bells tomorrow. Luke doesn't reply immediately. He thinks for a moment before nodding.
いいけど、その前にちょっと準備させてくれるか？
Seems like you don't need my help then.
ああ、お前にとびっきりの贈り物をしてやりたいだけだから、こっちは全部俺に任せてくれ。それじゃ、先にホテルまで送るよ。
By the time you return to the hotel, it's already late evening. Luke doesn't reveal what he's planning, only telling you to wait before slipping away mysteriously. Near midnight, his call finally comes. You hurry downstairs, but on the staircase you catch sight of him in advance. Two gentle white horses, a carriage parked by the street, and a lamp glowing softly just for him. Everything before you feels hazy and unreal, shrouded by the night. It's as if you've stepped into a fairy tale, meeting Luke's warm gaze in this moment. You stop in surprise, gripping the railing, unable to speak for a moment. Luke suddenly lifts his right hand, extending a silent invitation.
どうぞ、お姫様。
The cool night breeze brushes past, making your cheeks burn even hotter. You're glad to be standing in the shadows. At least he won't immediately see through your turbulent emotions. Look, you're being so unfair right now.
そうか。俺はただ、お前に最高の夜を送りたいだけだ。
You lean forward slightly, noticing that Luke isn't as composed as his tone suggests. The tips of his ears, flush red, betrayed everything. His gaze wavers slightly before settling on you.
これ、 さすがにやりすぎだと思うか？ずっと考えてたんだ。約束を果たすときは、記憶に残るような特別なことをしたいって。長い間待たせちまったから、どうしても日常の延長で済ませるのだけは嫌だった。
Your heart feels weightless, your body almost floating as you can no longer hide your shyness. You cover your face with your hands. I love it, Luke. It's like something right off a fairy tale.
ならよかった。
He pauses with a smile, raising his left hand to offer a playful head tip.
時間になったら魔法が解ける馬車ってわけじゃないけど、少し急ぐか。今度こそ、二人で一緒に、プラハの鐘の音を聞きたいからな。
You no longer hesitate, stepping off the stairs and quickly embracing him as he watches you. The rhythmic clatter of hooves fills the quiet night, not disturbing the city's slumber, while the astronomical clock tower pierces the night sky in your peripheral vision. Faintly, you hear the chime of a distant bell, but as you watch looks back while he steers the carriage, it feels like this moment has yet to arrive and will never end.
タラランタンタンタンタンタンタン。お、繋がったのか？よかった。忙しくて無理かもって思ってたからな。はあ、こっちに帰ってすぐ出張に行くことになったから、ちゃんと休めてないだろう。どうだ？元気でやってるか？うん、元気そうで安心したよ。そうだ、今何してると思う？高 3？ そうか。なら答えの発表だ。プラハのお土産を整理してたんだ。もちろんそれだけじゃない。天文時計のマグネットも改装しておいた。音が出る装置を中に組み込んでみたから、冷蔵庫を開けるたびに、いつでもあの鐘の音が聞けるぞ。え、今すぐ見てみたいって？ダメだ。装置に問題が起きてて、音が鳴り続けるんだ。電話をかける前にバッテリーを外してなかったら、今も鐘が鳴ってたかもな。大丈夫。お前が帰ってくるまでには直しとくから、楽しみに待っててくれよ。ん？俺にもサプライズがある？もしかしてプレゼントか？え、内緒にしたい？わかった。おとなしく待っとくよ。まあでも、なんだって喜ぶだろうけどな。それより俺は、お前に会いたいよ。たった数日なのに、すでに寂しくてたまらないんだ。お前は？言わなくてもなんとなくわかるけど、やっぱり、お前の口から聞きたい。もうこんな時間なのか。明日も朝早いんだろ？今日はもう寝よう。うん、おやすみ。